So I want to talk about an optical illusion that's very much in play when you're trying to paint realism. If you're looking at a vase on a table and you want to paint it in oil paint, there's a major optical illusion that's always going on and affecting your ability to see color, and really more specifically your ability to see value, to see how dark or light your color is. So let's take a look at this photograph here I have of my wife Emily. What I want to do is I'm going to put a series of dots across her forehead, and it looks as if those dots are different colors, but they're actually all the same color. If I change it and put a neutral background behind the in place of her face, you can see that they're the same color. So imagine now that you've decided that you're going to paint Emily's face here, and you start to paint in the shadow like you normally would, and I've just simulated here painting just the dark parts of her face, and as you can see, and those colors I haven't changed at all. I haven't changed a single thing other than putting in that neutral background beneath it. So imagine if you're now working on a canvas and you've stained your canvas and you've started to paint in, you know, whatever it is, a vase or somebody's face, and you're painting in the shadow colors, and you paint this, you paint all these darks just like just like here in this picture. You will assume that your color's far too dark, and you'll tend to lighten it up. And I see amateurs doing it all the time, or students that come in and take my workshops. You know, it is the number one thing, or the number one mistake, is that they will paint in this flesh tone much lighter than they should. So if you were to paint Emily's face and you've started in with these darks like this on this neutral background, this is actually dead on correct. Now let me just show you one other, and by the way, if I put those dark colors of Emily's face, if I put a white background behind those dark colors, it even exaggerates it more. On the other hand, if I were to paint on a black canvas, which I don't recommend doing for a lot of reasons, because it's but then in that case, you know, it doesn't look quite as dark, and it looks like it might actually work. So my point being is that colors are very relative, and the way you see, when you look at a color and you ask yourself how dark or how light is a color, and then you've got to mix that on your palette, and you're looking down on your neutral palette and you're trying to compare it, it really throws you. So it's just something to be aware of. The way past this, if you're using a color checker, you know, which I've got a video that explains how to make your own, so you can make your own color checker, or you can purchase one from Geneva Fine Art. We sell some, but you can make your own. And if you use a color checker, it doesn't lie. You know, when you hold out a color checker and you look through it, it's going to see right through all those illusions, because you're just comparing one color to another, and you're not being affected by all the relative colors around it. So let me show you one other effect, and this is kind of the extreme. But now if I take this highlight color in Emily's face, and I just cut out the highlight, and verbatim, I'm not changing anything, and I put that highlight color on a neutral background like this, it looks way too dark to an amateur. But that little dark spot there is actually the glow on Emily's face. And so the point of this video is for you to be fully aware that these you know, illusions and this optical illusion will absolutely affect your ability to judge a color. And so that if you look at a vase and you start to paint it on a canvas, it's going to look way too dark to you, even though it might be right. And again, the way to get through that, if you're working from life, is to use a color checker. If you're not working from life, or you're working from a photograph, you know, and you laminate it, you can smear the paint right onto the photograph and check your values that way, and that'll really teach you. So that's kind of at the root of my method, which is you know, to do a lot of color checking, and that if you do enough of that and you use a color checker for a long enough period, you're not surprised anymore, and you start to get it. And it's not just me that gets it. It's, I've had countless students who can now, you look into a shadow on a vase and you instinctively know that it's a really dark color. You can just see it. And the only way that I've learned that instinct, or any of my students have learned that instinct, is by checking your color. I say do 5 or 10 paintings and be very strict about your color checking and checking your values, and let it teach you, because when you first start, you just can't believe how dark the shadow is on somebody's face, or how dark the shadow is on a vase that you're painting, or whatever it is, and you tend to make it much lighter than it should be. But by color checking it breaks right through that illusion. So anyway, I would highly recommend you trying that out if you're having a hard time with values, because it'll just break right through all the illusions. If you go to drawmixpaint.com, you can find links to all my free videos. If you go to genevafineart.com, you can find out all about the paint that I use to paint with, that I manufacture myself right here in Austin, Texas. And thank you so much for watching.